Hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I am your host, Tia Marie, the Soul Potential CEO, and the topic of our chat today is cycles of creation, how to understand and break looping life cycles that you don't want. All right, here's a secret about me. I hate repeating myself. I am someone who fundamentally, on a very deep level of my being, just does not enjoy repeating myself. I feel allergic to looping. And yet, I find myself often in my business and life experiencing repeated cycles that feel unwanted. And I know that people say, you know, we understand that what we resist persists. And the reason why I want to talk about this is that looping is different than spiraling up. And I think in the conversation of motion, the way that our lives move forward, and particularly connected back to business and how we live as soul-led creators, soul-led entrepreneurs, there is a true spherical wisdom here that we need to look at in order to maximize and put it into use in our lives. And I want to offer you this reflection. We loop to let go. So what do I mean by that? When we find ourselves in situations in our lives where we're like, oh, I've been here again. Why does this keep happening? This always happens to me. I thought I was going to do a new thing. I had intended on creating in a different way. And yet I find myself consistently in situations where I'm experiencing things that I have experienced before, except for now, it's just a different flavor. It's just a different version of the same thing. And there are specific pinpointed, frustrating patterns that continue to arise, and I cannot figure out how to get out of them. For me, understanding that the life field or the life of what it is that you create active in your reality brings you the perfect scenarios and the perfect situations that you need to level up. I really have enjoyed over the years tapping and tuning into the truth that we loop to let go, meaning that the things that come up in our lives that we don't want to experience over and over actually reveal themselves so that we can investigate, so that we can embody the change that needs to happen in order for those patterns to be released and to step into a new one. And so really believing in that shift, really seeing it as an opportunity for me has been a powerful way to transform, behaviors in my life that continue to repeat. Something I went through recently and something I've been working with for years inside of Sinatia, inside of the Sinatia project, is this realization that I have had because of my prior career, because of my previous experience as an entrepreneur since the age of 25. So I have 20 years of entrepreneurship under my belt now, is that I tend to create new things the same way that I created them before. So one of the patterns that I was always stuck in is this pattern of the hustler, the one who is hustling, the one who is working really hard, the one who is, the go-to person that you connect with when you have ideas about how to make money and how to birth something in the world, because I loved starting businesses. But where I ended up recently was this awareness that I was carrying forward that natural, comfortable, hustling behavior into all of the new projects that I started, implemented, and have been working with. And every time I found myself in a place where I realized that reflection or that version of me from the past that was being carried forward, I saw it as an opportunity to release another layer of that persona. time is recognized in us in cycles. Okay, so think of it this way. It's like the past that we remember lives in our body. We have emotions, we have narratives, we have identities, we have stories about what they mean about us, the things that happened to us in our past, and they live in this archive. And so anytime we engage with a future version of ourselves, we are reverting back to those archives as the template or as the history of who we are in order for us to determine how we're going to show up in the future. The reason that being future focused or somebody who is committed to living to and from soul potential is such a powerful catalyst for evolution and transformation, expansion and wealth building and growth and freedom is that the future stories of us really set us free. They set us free from our past, right? But the issue with future focused people and people who are, fully tapped into that soul potential is that we are using that history as a guide, as a roadmap to see how we can lead ourselves forward. It's super easy to get annoyed when we think on a mental level that we're doing life, business, love, money in a totally different way, only to find ourselves in situations where our current reality is not reflecting that. And we get frustrated, we get annoyed, but this is the wrong energy. The frustration, the annoyance, the aspects of your life in those patterns, in those archives, in those histories that we didn't like is what is compelling us to make changes in the future. So we cannot revert back to the state that reinforces the stories in our past. What we desire in our lives orbits our field, right? So we have a dream, we have an idea, we have a vision for what we want our lives to be like. And part of that vision is a deep calling. It's a passion. It's a mission. It is a inspiration that lives inside of us. And we tap into that spark and we decide to take action on it. If we are, in the practice of being a creator, right? Being a proactive creator. So you can imagine this like, you being an entire and whole universe. And whatever you, put into orbit, meaning a desire that you've chosen to take action on, cycles in your field. And like I mentioned, the truth of time or the experience of time, past, present, future, is being experienced in us in these cycles, right? In sync with these orbits in our field, in sync with all these seeds that we, these desires that we put out into our lives and are attempting to attract to us, right? Because we are the center of our universe. What happens in that truth is often we just don't believe that our desires are actually there and present for us in the future, in the now, in the past, in all of the ways that we show up for the present moment. And if we are going to be committed to kind of spiraling up, right, evolving, instead of spiraling down, devolving, we have to bring our dreams into focus. So what we don't bring into our awareness loops in our lives. That's when you find yourself in a looping pattern. And like when I'm saying looping, I'm not talking about expansion. I'm talking about tracks from the past, behaviors from the past, patterns that we do not want to experience again because we are moving into the future. We're doing something different. They continue to come up. And if we cannot bring that from our subconscious into our conscious, if we can't bring it from default programming into active creation, then the parts of us that dream of more and more and more are not being fully utilized as a field of healing. So you can think about A lot of people in spiritual spaces talk about healing your patterns, healing your past, healing your inner child, healing the parts of you that need to come back to full acceptance in order to release the patterns, right? In order to release the behaviors that are keeping us stuck. But the issue with looking at that equation from a perspective of healing is that you can heal, and this is my experience. This is what I live by. This is one of the main kind of like core beliefs that I have woven into my internal architecture for creation for a specific purpose, right? Like I've done this intentionally, is believing that future focused, forward focused creation heals my field inherently. That correction becomes a symptom of living as my true self, right? Of living in my potential to see what I'm capable of. And so as those looping patterns come up, it's like, it's the opportunity that the subconscious is giving us, is gifting us to see what is there because we couldn't see that it was still there. Does that make sense to you guys? This is a really, really powerful shift that can completely change the way you look at how to change these behaviors and these experiences that are keeping you in places that you are already done with, right? I'm going to give you some tips on how to maximize your ability to break looping cycles that you don't want in your life. 1, observe what the theme of the loop is. I can give you a personal example. So I had an experience this past year in the evolution of my business where I found that I had a tendency to overpack offers, to overpack programs, containers, like to say to everybody, yeah, you can get all the things. There's so many things that I can help you with. And while that is true, the tendency to overpack the offer was in service to that hustling vibe, to the vibe that's just like, let's make this more complicated. Let's work harder than we need to because we believe that that is required in order for us to be successful. But a really potent shift in that awareness for me was getting to the point where I acknowledged it, right? I found the theme of the loop, and then I became the person and took the action and organized myself in a way that could change it. What is the most beautiful outcome of that practice is the truth that people still do get all the things. Like I have a lot of skills in this arena. I help my clients with, comprehensive shifts, right? Full body shifts, embodied shifts, right? Like the kind that stay with you, not just the bumps of energy, the bumps of identity expansion, the bumps of strategy that we can't sustain, right? Because my work kind of goes long and slow and in flow with exactly what you need right now in this moment, while in service to the larger intention that you step forward with in order to achieve what you want to achieve. And that is the most powerful guidance that we can ever receive in our lives because, quick results, magic pills, cutting corners doesn't ever get you where you want to be long term. It might get you somewhere now, but then you end up right back in the place that you started because of what I'm talking about here. So the fact that I observed that and I could see it for what it was, and I didn't feel like, oh, this is just a belief issue, right? This is just a belief I have about how much I can charge. No, it's not really that. It's not really a belief because I can believe a lot of things about my business and I have made a lot of money in my life, in my career, in my entrepreneurial endeavors. So it's not really true. It's actually more of a holistic issue, right? It's a full spectrum looping issue. There's an identity, there's fear, right? There's an action I'm not willing to take. There's a clarity that I'm attempting to tune into. I'm trying to bring what is happening in my subconscious into focus, right? And the experience of that looping pattern is giving me the opportunity to do that. If I am doing that on one dimension of myself, right? If I'm only looking at it from one angle, if it's not embodied, if it's not full, then I end up right back where I began. Okay, that's the first tip. Observe what the theme of the loop is and look at it and understand it fully. 2, take responsibility for changing you, right? So that was the second thing that I did, is that I took responsibility for making the changes in me, as a whole me, not just the, oh, I need to hire an assistant. I need to raise my prices. I need to have difficult conversations with clients. I need to set up boundaries. I need to, take care of myself better. I need to clean up some systems in my business. I need to look at my work, right? I need to look at everything that I have created. Like there's many dimensions of it. It's not just one thing. And more of it is the way that I move in the world is ready for a change, right? I desire a change, right? I don't have to do any of those things because the loop has proven to me that although I am experiencing a new level of a place that I've already been, I have built and accumulated confidence in that movement in order to get me to the place where I am right now, ready to take the next step, right? So take responsibility for changing you. And then 3, focus on creation to solve the issue. Meaning, as I mentioned before, focus on mastering how you create instead of trying to heal something that is not inherently broken. If we focus on the past to change the future, we are not learning anything new. Chaos often comes in our lives, meaning my definition of chaos is situations in life that are difficult, challenging, unordered, surprising, not expected, ways that like life moves to you as a force, compelling you to change because you have no other choice. Chaos creates massive opportunities for up levels. Most of the time when we experience chaos, we do not like how it feels. And so we focus on how we can make sure, without a doubt, that we will never experience that feeling again. So we get to work trying to learn lessons from chaos, and chaos has nothing to teach you. The only thing chaos has to teach you about who you are is what your level of mastery and power is when it comes to creation. The things that support you in having a deeply embodied, supported relationship to your power as creator are things like, self-support, divine principles, how much grace you have for yourself, whether or not you truly understand your inner rhythm, things like self-care and fear management. So the way that we comfort ourselves in moments of expansion is really coming back to the body. So moving energy through the body, doing things like using Divinios, which is my tool for expanding thought systems that operate outside of fear. So, working in ways for you to not revert to that automatic fear, subconscious, save myself, keep myself safe, keep myself from ever feeling this way again because I can't handle it, because it's too much, because it's too much emotion, because it feels bad in my body, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wherein the actual opportunity is to comfort, self-support, self-respect, manage fear, take steps moving forward, seize the opportunity, and get yourself into a place where you are the person living a life that you dream and desire. One of the programs that I dive deeply into this, and there's two actually, is the Divinios, or the Divine OS, the operating system that helps you to build up really powerful internal capacity for changing your mental thought systems, changing the subconscious programming. And the second is the sequence manifestation program. So I really teach you inside of that content how to live as an embodied creator slash manifester, experiencing those cycles of time and youth through sequences of intention. It is a completely new, innovative, refreshing, different take on manifestation, and something that I believe fully every person should engage in as a living practice for a minimum of 1 year. Inside of my colleague mastermind, you can experience that and learn from the spherical wisdom of the soul, which is these orbits in you, this time in you, desire, and how to fully show up and live for what you dream and are creating. So I hope you enjoyed this chat, and I am looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.